Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it seems like Ben and Jerry's is not doing so hot in terms of, possibly getting completely destroyed in every single way possible. Now, obviously, that this is well deserved and they're not doing too well right now, but there's also something else that should probably catch a bit of your eye. Because they made some very strange and awkward tweet, not tweet, but video that you guys all should probably get familiar with. Ben and Jerry's National Ice Cream Month slammed after July 4th Indigenous tweet. My apologies. Ben and Jerry's posted a video on social media to celebrate National Ice Cream Month, but got blowback from critics over a controversial 4th of July tweet, which claimed that the U.S. was built on stolen indigenous land. Find your nearest scoop shop now and celebrate National Ice Cream Month with us, the caption read on the TikTok video posted by Ben & Jerry's on Thursday. But TikTok users responded by warning the maker of Chunky Monkey and Cherry Garcia that is having a Bud Light moment, a reference to the Anheuser-Busch brand that has seen sales suffer as a result of its partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. You're trying to get a Bud Light moment, one TikToker user wrote. Another claimed to be shorting Unilever or betting that the company's stock price would dip further following calls for a boycott of Ben & Jerry's. Now, I think this is the actual video here, but I could be horrendously mistaken. See, that's what we call cancer. See, these videos are all terrible. The Ben & Jerry's parent company lost nearly $2 billion in market cap in the days following the July 4th tweet. Hope you all go bankrupt, another Twitter user wrote, adding that the Ben & Jerry's ice cream was ass anyways, and Ben & Jerry's 2 Bud Light Hold My Beer, another avoided. And then we have, I think this is another one, but this could be the actual one that's, okay, yeah, this is the video, ladies and gentlemen.
We need to talk about Mount Rushmore. That mountain in South Dakota with the faces of 4 presidents blasted into it. You've seen the pictures. What the pictures don't show and what isn't talked about much is that Mount Rushmore is actually a holy mountain to the Lakota Sioux. The surrounding Black Hills are sacred too. When gold was discovered there in the late 1800s, the US government broke treaties and violently forced the Lakota and other tribes off their lands. Then in 1927, their holy mountain was dynamited to honor their colonizers. That's so messed up. 2 of the 4 white men whose faces were blasted onto the mountain enslaved people. And all of them were hostile to indigenous people and their values. In 1980, the US Supreme Court actually ruled in favor of the tribes, as they should, confirmed that the government stole Mount Rushmore and the Black Hills, and awarded the tribes about $100 million in damages. But the tribes refused the payment. Why? Because this sacred land is not for sale. That money has been held in trust and is now worth about $2 billion. The tribes still refuse it despite living in some of the poorest communities in the US. The truth is, our entire country exists on stolen indigenous land. This Independence Day, let's give it back. Return Mount Rushmore to the Lakota. Learn more and take action at the link in our bio.
Yeah, because people should be forced to give up land to a group of people that lost during a war and have no thing to play in it. Remember, this is what really happens during war, right? That when people lose, people have to forfeit their stuff. This is happening in all kinds of places. This is happening in Ukraine. It is just the way of life. Now, as messed up as it is, obviously, that when you conquer, it's never a great thing. I mean, you win because you are superior. That's just what happens. Mainly the reason is that, which she also apparently doesn't want to know about the actual history of the United States, is also that a lot of us are from the European descent, and that a lot of us went to go to another place to find, to have our freedom, because the Europeans were not so kind of wanting us to have our freedom, so we went to another place to pretty much get that said freedom. And unfortunately for us, we had to conquer because the people would not let us, or rather, we did it by force. Either way, it's not like it's not like we want this to happen, and the fact that we pretty much, even with her own stupidity, pretty much said, "Oh, okay, well, why not just give it back?" Well, we tried to give it back. They refused the giving it back and also selling it, and giving them awarded for $100 million, and they refused it. So I mean, that on that at that point, it's just there. It's on them. We tried doing the right thing. We tried giving it back after the horrible thing that we did, because I guess the United States are actually technically good people, and they refused it. So I mean, that's on them. And now we have this. Ben and Jerry's added to that the U.S. should start with Mount Rushmore, writing the faces of Mount Rushmore are the faces of men who actively work to destroy indigenous cultures and ways of life. South Dakota, Kristi Noem defended her state's landmark, saying, "I'm not going to listen to a bunch of liberal Vermont businessmen who think they know everything about this country and haven't studied our history. Right now, Mount Rushmore is the greatest symbol of our freedom and history of the United States of America." I would 100% agree with this. I don't see, honestly, any other mountains or any other mountains or any other places that have things similar to this. It's very unique to our country, unique to our culture, and I think we should embrace something like this, despite the fact that, it has terrible history with it, which I think anything that has a landmark or a statue that has of people, especially in war or forefathers, etc., has some bad history. Like, there has been war. People had to fight to be able to get to where they are today. That's just bloody reality. You think that England, Irish people, etc., that don't have land or don't have things that they had to fight for to defend themselves from because they were either wrongly accused or attacked or what have you. There's bad in everything, and to assume that these people should be forced to give up certain things that they had to fight for in order to have their own freedoms is insanity and stupidity in its highest order. Because there was no way that we were going to win the Europe War. We went to go find a better life, and we ended up finding a better life, and we ended up taking over other things because we were more advanced. Don Stevens, chief of the New Orleans hand band of the Cossack Abenaki Nation, one of 4 tribes descended from the Abenaki that are recognized in Vermont, told the Post last week that he would like to inquire as to whether the land where Ben and Jerry's headquarters is located may belong to his people. Yeah, so now this man here is demanding for Ben and Jerry's to pretty much get back their land, which, again, go ahead, please, because Ben and Jerry's, and we're all going to be perfectly honest here with this perfect community notes. Despite Ben and Jerry's supposed commitment to returning land they feel as stolen, they have yet to reach out to the tribe whose land their HQ is on and arrange a return of the land to them, which we go to here. And then Indigenous Chief wants to take back Ben and Jerry's HQ built on stolen land. This tribe descended from the Native American nation that originally controlled the land in Vermont the Ben and Jerry's headquarters is located on would be interested in taking it back. Its chief has said that after the company publicly had called for stolen lands to be returned. Don Stevens of the chief Nahoigan band of the Cossack Abenaki Nation, one of 4 descended from the Abenaki that are recognized in Vermont, told Newsweek it was always interested in reclaiming the stewardship of our lands, but that the company had yet to approach them. It comes after the ice cream company was questioned as to when it would give up its Burlington, Vermont headquarters, which sits on a vast swath of U.S. territory that was under the auspices of the Abenaki people before colonization. The U.S. was founded on stolen indigenous land, the company said in a statement ahead of Independence Day. This year, let's commit to returning it. It added that the land back movement was about ensuring that indigenous people can again govern the land over the communities called for home for thousands of years, but focused much of its statement on taking the land from the Lakota and South Dakota. The acknowledgement of historic tribal lands is a contentious subject, pinning the claims of Native Americans whose ancestors were subject to violent persecution and displacement against the status quo of a modern nation with entrenched borders. While some say colonized ancestral lands should be at least partially returned, others say that it is impossible to decide which of the various groups to have claimed land throughout history it should be returned to. Maps show that the Abenaki confederacy of several tribes who united against encroachment from a rival tribe tribal confederacy controlled an area that stretched from the northern border of Massachusetts and South Dakota south to New Brunswick, Canada, and the north, and from the St. Lawrence River and west to the east coast. That would be Ben and Jerry's headquarters, located in a business park in South Burlington. Within the western portion of this historic territory, though it does not sit in any modern-day tribal lands. We are always interested in reclaiming the stewardship of our lands throughout our traditional territories and providing opportunities to uplift our communities. Stevens said when asked about whether the Hagen Abenaki tribe would want to see the property handed over to indigenous people, while the chief said that the tribe has not been approached in regards to any land back opportunities from gender barriers. He added, if and when we are approached, many conversations and discussions will need to take place to determine the best path forward for all involved. Ben and Jerry's has not yet publicly responded to calls to return to the land to its headquarters is situated on. So, yeah, spokesman for the Odanak Council of Abenakis, who now reside near Montreal, Canada, told Newsweek that the council would comment on the matter following their weekly meeting on Monday. Newsweek also approached the Abenaki Nation of Mescawi, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the Elnu Abenaki tribe, both recognized in Vermont, via email for comment on Thursday. Contact details for the other state-recognized tribe, the Coazak traditional band of the Coaz Abenaki Nation, could not immediately be found. According to historical records, the Abenaki initially traded with European settlers in the 16th century, but their population was afflicted by the spread of Old World diseases. The Confederacy allied with French colonists against English settlers and growing territorial disputes before many fled to what is now Canada following a series of defeats at the hands of the English. During the early part of the 20th century, a state-sponsored eugenics program in Vermont saw some Abenaki sterilized. The whole Hagen Abenaki tribe has described these acts as ethnocide. Okay, yeah. So, I do understand there were some tragedies and bad stuff happening to a lot of the tribes there when we came here. And this was mostly due to the chiefs and a lot of the Indian tribes not having protections or what have you from certain diseases that the Western people had when we came here. To be fair, on our side, it wasn't necessarily our fault when we came over here with diseases, and they just were not up to date or up to par to how many things they could do, they can be protected against. That's just that simple. I mean, especially when you go to a new land and you don't really expect these people to have defense against certain diseases. That's just natural. Now, the way we did some of those diseases, or the way we treated them and maybe forced them to handle these diseases, was uncalled for and unnecessary. But us just arriving here and having them die to certain things, well, that's not really our fault, other than the other horrible ways that we treated them. But I digress. This is just what happens when you go and conquer places and when you need new land. And when we're in our case, we were trying to search for a better life. So again, I said this multiple times on this video, that better life just to have our own freedoms. And unfortunately, these people were taken. But we're a lot different now, and we try to right our wrongs. And they didn't want to right our wrongs by giving them $100 million and the land back, etc., etc. So there's that. But these people also want to, if Ben and Jerry's came up to offer it, they would like to have negotiations. Of course, Ben and Jerry's won't ever do this, so we'll see how that goes. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. And always, take care.